crossing the street illegally. How's everybody doing? I mean, we'll see. It's sort of like yesterday where it's like threatening to rain. Could rain at any time. But it's probably not going to downpour, I don't think. It's my weather forecast live from, I don't know, it just feels brewing. It's in the air. I don't know. It's like sort of relatively nice out, so I feel some obligation to go outside. And I think that's just sort of like, it's just something that plagues me. Is like, as a kid, my parents were just always like, go outside, every day. It's just like, you just had to be outside. If it's nice out, it's like you got to go outside. And so I still am like that. I can't really get past that, where it's like, if it's a nice day, this is why I can't have a job. That's why I can't be an adult. Because it's like, if it's a nice day, I got to be outside. I can't be in an office. And, I mean, it's not that nice, but it's like, it's not freezing and it's not scalding hot. I thought it was going to be a little nicer. I thought it was going to be, if not sunny, then pleasant. It's kind of windy and it's kind of gray. So I don't know. I don't necessarily know that this is the greatest circumstance of live stream, but in any case, here we are. We're going to use it. The north side of Central Park, we'll walk over to this new fucking aquatic pavilion and shit they got. This will be an exclusive for everybody. They just opened. It's like an ice skating rink and a fucking pool, and so it's by the Harlem Mirror. So we've been walking over there. Today I've just been reading. I've been trying to just read more. And read for kind of like long stretches rather than be on my phone watching TikTok, hyper learning. I know I'm famous for my hyper learning. All of my dedicated fans, Bruce Halliday and Adam S. If you're still out there, I know I killed the chat. I think the viewership went down when I killed the chat. Over, Christmas, that's when I kind of like dialed down how much live streaming I was doing, and I killed the chat. And so that may have something to do with my reduced. I mean, does Theo Vaughn have a fucking chat? Does Tim Dillon have a chat? His shit's pre-recorded. It's not even live. I'm fucking live here. I'm live as hell. Bringing the badass fucking content to everybody. Day in, day out. Day in, day out, mate. Yeah, so, and that's a nice little path here. Like Royal Tenenbaum and Angelica Houston walking through Central Park. It's Wes Anderson. Wes Anderson's just in the air. His new movie came out. He's doing all these talk shows. He's on like Amanpour. He's on weird shit. He's like on MSNBC. He's on CNN. This is what I'm saying. It's like there is a method to Wes Anderson's kind of whimsy. Yeah, so I've just been reading. I've been trying to read for long periods rather than hyper learning. I don't really know why. I guess to some degree, I guess to me, like, reading is a form of learning, or like it's supposed to be the most superior. These people that read, they're supposed to be so much smarter than everybody else. And, there is this sort of war over literacy right now and its significance. And there's a war on literacy by the Republicans and on the media and journalists. I mean, journalists, it doesn't really exist anymore. Journalism as we know it is dead. And it's sort of transforming into things like this. Amateur hearsay, guys on the internet pulling it out of their ass, soothsayers, snake oil. We're back to like the bizarre of just kind of like shouting carnival barkers trying to bend your ear and get your fucking money. Clicks, views. So this is like a marketplace of ideas. YouTube, wow. I was reading some article about YouTube. They think YouTube might supplant the streamers the same way the streamers supplanted television, right? I mean, not that they need to write articles about it, but it's like there's a new fucking article every month about how YouTube is just getting more and more share of the viewership. I think partly because it does so many different things. You know, you can watch movies on YouTube free with ads. You can watch some TV shit live. You can watch music. You can watch concerts. You can listen to music on fucking YouTube. So a lot of people use it as like their fucking Spotify. And now the video podcasts, right? They're sort of learning that this video podcast form is what people want in some fucked up way. People do just want to listen to long. It's. I guess it's how people, what they do instead of hanging out now. They listen to people hanging out on the internet, and they watch them. They watch Mark Normand and Sam Morril hanging out, or Bobby Lee, and you know, the loneliness epidemic where we're all screen addicts. You just choose your friends based on which podcasts you like. Are you more of a Tom Segura guy, or are you more of a Club Random guy? Are you more of a Tim Dillon guy? Are you more of a whatever the fuck it is? Does Russell Brand still have a platform? Is he in jail yet? So I don't know. It feels like reading, I don't know, is becoming this quickly, like everything, I guess. It's the Kali Yuga, so probably nothing will be left standing, but in any case, I've been trying to get off. Well, I guess to some degree, I thought maybe it'd be a way to feed myself for this. The idea is whatever you put in is going to come out kind of artistically, or it's going to kind of give you ideas, give you fucking things to say, teach you, right? I mean, but I don't necessarily, is reading Debt by David Graeber, I got it out of the library. I didn't necessarily think it was more educational than a fucking YouTube video, quite frankly. I'm not convinced that reading nonfiction is the best way to learn that shit. I mean, and to some degree, a lot of reading goes in one ear and out the other. Like there are entire books that you read, you don't remember anything about them. And so reading nonfiction facts, I don't know, I would say when I was younger, the nonfiction that I was really into that left like the biggest mark on me was like Naomi Klein, No Logo, and Shock Doctrine. I read that shit in like the early 2010s. Do I retain like all the specifics of it? No, but I could probably sort of summarize the point of what those books were about and why they were important to read. I feel like it's probably about to start fucking raining again. I had 2 people watching and then they left. Okay, so we're almost over by this fucking aquatic center. And I don't know. I guess I'm like delusional about trying to live in some world of like novels, slow, long attention span. I think a lot of the poetry over the past few years has been an attempt, the way that it's more prose-like, the way that it does have kind of like a sustained focus and like a subject and all this kind of stuff is like, that's people trying to fight the disintegration of the attention span. That's people trying to counterpoint you know, our micro feed and just how everything's splintered into these stupid little apps and these stupid little posts, and you know, everything is the 20th century is so much about fragmentation, cubism, whatever the hell. The wars just sort of broke that century all apart into these kind of nervous, agitated genres. And it does feel like, what is the 21st century about? I mean, a lot of these poets are basically writing like prose. It's coherent, it's sustained, it's intelligible. I think that's a nice way to fight the fracture and the way everything's all broken up and stuff. But at the same time, I don't necessarily think it accurately reflects what the fuck is going on. And okay, what's gonna happen here? It's gonna start raining. I guess I can't just sit here for a minute while it blows over or whatever the hell it's gonna do. Maybe I should have just stayed inside. I don't know. I mean, I think everybody is like sort of trying to find their like offline moments. And a lot of times you're just scrolling these apps. It's like you're refreshing Instagram. It's like, what are you even getting out of it? It's like, I don't look at anybody's stories or their posts. Like, with TikTok, there was some feel like this is exciting. This is kind of a new way to digest content. And there, you know, the algorithm was pretty accurate with showing you things that you didn't know you wanted to see. It does kind of feel like that's changed a little bit. Which is probably a good thing. I mean, as much as TikTok is a good way to sort of just like inhale the fucking world situation, I don't know. Our books sort of like an antiquated, they're islands, you know, they're so kind of just disconnected from everything that it's like, it's not hyperlinked. It's not, you know, reading the Poetics of Space or something. Or reading, so today I was reading this Edmund Wilson book, The 20s. We're in the 20s, people. This is our 20s, believe it or not. 60 years from now, if there is a 60 years from now, they're going to look back and they'll be like, back in the 20s, back in New York in the fucking 20s, that's us. We're in the 20s. We're old. We're old-fashioned. We're like in the Prohibition of this century. We're wearing pinstripes. We're bootleggers. We're doing the Charleston. That's what they're going to think about us. The same way we look at those people and think how ridiculous. They're going to go back, they go look back on, I don't know, Fetty Wap or whatever. I don't know, what's popular. You know what I really hate? Who's this guy who does the backflip? Brooke something? His whole career is he backflips off of shit. I saw a TikTok video, this guy backflipping off a fucking Mustang or something. It's like, the last video I saw, he was doing a backflip at the Grammys or something. It's like, this guy's whole fucking thing is he does a backflip. It's gotta be one of the dumbest gimmicks I've seen in music ever. Definitely since like Chubby Checker and shit like that. This guy does a backflip, wow. He looks like Paul Mescal. I don't know. People are into the broccoli hair and they're into weird shit now. So yeah, Edmund Wilson, The 20s. I don't know if people really read this book, but he's got this whole, I've talked about it before. I'm repeating myself now like Bill Maher. I'm just saying the same 4 fucking things over and over again. Happy Sunday, everybody. This is book talk. This is booktube, okay? I'm a romanticy booktuber now, all right? Like and subscribe. We've got some real bodice rippers here. we're going to be talking about some real bodice rippers. What was I reading today? So I was reading this book, The 20s, which is like his diary. So they released this guy's whole fucking. He's got like volumes of his diary, the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, because he was sort of a literary citizen, and he knew all these fucking people. He knew F. Scott Fitzgerald and Zelda Fitzgerald, and he knew Jean Cocteau and fucking. He worked for the New Yorker, fucking the Algonquin Round Table. So he's talking about all these, his diaries are all first-hand accounts of living in New York. There's all these great descriptions of like the sky, the buildings. So it's like a vlog. It's basically Edmund Wilson's YouTube page. And I sort of discovered this when I moved back to New York in 2021 and I lived in Chelsea, because it's very like Manhattan. And I kind of get why it's not really that popular in the greater literary landscape. Like I don't really think they teach this guy. I don't think he's really, it's looked on, I think, as probably like anecdotal or like ephemera or like memoir type thing, type shit. It's not like a novel, it's not like Tender as the Night or whatever, or Turn Magic Wheel or something that's like sustained and kind of transmogrified into this fictional roman of clay or whatever. It literally is just like his fucking diary. It's like, I did this, he travels, and so it's just like my vlogs. And I don't know, I just love those type of forms. I do think it's like an accurate way to receive like an imitation of life and what life is actually like. I guess that makes sense, but it does seem like formalistic in that way. It doesn't just feel like, oh, this is just a bunch of shit the guy wrote. It's like there is a style to it. There is like a shape to it and like an aesthetic to it. That's like a vlog, where it's like, it's kind of raw. It's kind of like chopped and slashed. He knew Edna Vincent Millay. He was madly in love with Edna Vincent Millay. So there's some of his poetry in there. He like went to fucking print. He took the train to someplace in Jersey, because he's from New Jersey. And with F. Scott Fitzgerald, he like wrote this poem about their trip and shit. It's like, he says it's a bad poem. Edna said, he said he gave it to her. She said it was strange. But it's like, it's kind of an interesting first-hand account. At that time, I guess the really hot thing was Ezra Pound. He talks about how the kind of older guys, they hang out at this place called the Coffee House, which I guess this guy, what is his name? Colin Wood or something? He was the editor of Vanity Fair. He started this fucking place, the Coffee House, where they all hung out. And he said the older writers would sort of condescendingly remark to him, oh, you probably like that Ezra Pound, don't you? That's probably what you're into. You're into that kind of newfangled, like, avant-garde bullshit. This was the 20s, right? So at the time, that was very, like, I don't know, to old guys, I guess that was on their radar as being like the kind of weird new, that was like woke to them. They were like, what the hell is this? You probably like that shit, don't you? They were confused and too old to understand it. But anyway, I don't know. So it's got all these characters, all these famous people. Eugene O'Neill, he knew Eugene O'Neill. It's about the village, so he's like talking about riding the bus up Fifth Avenue or whatever. I guess that's my romantasy, is like memoirs of like modernist New York. Like that fucking James Thurber memoir of fucking The Years with Ross, which is all about when he worked at the New Yorker in the 20s and 30s, and Harold Ross, and that's just sort of what it was like around the office. So it's like it's a poet's novel. It's a Bildungs, or it's a Kunstlitroman. It's a Bildungsroman. It's an artist's story of their own kind of milieu, their own kind of time. I don't know. I like that stuff. That's sort of my favorite genre. That's my escapism. Because our own piece of the timeline is just so wrecked, right? With just like the rent is too fucking high. We live in this dystopian. We're being completely, milked emotionally by the fucking algorithm, and we're trapped in our phones, and we're isolated, we're alienated, we're unhappy. Everybody's dating through an app. The apps are making people unhappy. They're driving people nuts. So it's like, oh, I'm going to read about the 50s. Or, Mad Men is another version of that. It's like, it's the past, the 60s. It's another kind of like rose-tinted glasses, I guess. It's probably always the best of times, the worst of times. But, like a lot of people say, this is the best time ever to be alive. We don't have to worry about dying of some fucking, horrible disease for the most part. Infectious disease. There's a number, you don't die in childbirth, whatever. There's plenty of reasons to be positive, I guess, about the moment we're in right now, but it's also just like a model, I guess. It's like, here's how they did it. Wow, I was already doing that. That's amazing that we had the same instincts, or I don't know. Like, I have this book, The Holy Barbarians, right? It's all about the beatnik scene in the 50s and Venice Beach and North Beach and all that stuff. So these are all kind of like different nostalgia for someplace you weren't even at. Whereas, like, we got to start right with not the good old days, right? The bad new days. So we're trying our best, but it also, I don't know, it attaches you to the place because it's all about New York and this kind of lineage of these modernists. I guess it's a fetishization of the aesthetic of that time, the tweed, the brownstones. We're going to Washington Square Park. There's fucking E.E. Cummings. You knew E.E. Cummings. It's kind of like Mad Men, the office culture, the way they treated the women. But that was 100 fucking years ago. So Mad Men, it's like Burt Cooper was there in the 20s. He's their link to that kind of era. That advertising thing, I think, kind of exploded around that time, around World War I and thereafter. That was the beginning of kind of like mass consumerism. They electrified the Tennessee Valley, and everybody was buying appliances and shit. There was a boom, right? Just like the baby boom, and that's why the roaring 20s happened, because everybody was so fucking terrified because of the war that they just had to drink themselves into oblivion for 10 years. Talks about F. Scott Fitzgerald has got 2 black eyes because he got so wasted he got into some stupid argument with somebody. Talk about hard partying. I mean, Jesus Christ, he had 2 black eyes. This guy was the greatest writer alive. Could you imagine Ben Lerner partying that hard? No, Ben Lerner's just going to write another book about some fucking residence he was on. Or his book, he was in Marfa, or he was on some grant. Every one of his books is about some fucking government-sponsored, program he's in. It's like, fuck you. Whatever happened to being, on a whaling ship? Writing a book about that. No, I'm going to write about my time, in Marfa. Or working at the Park Slope Food Co-op. Eating baby octopuses on the fucking High Line. The other book, okay, so I was also reading this book, Laura's Desires, which is a poetry book written by a colleague. It's very well done. I mean, so it's sort of, I'm reading the second half, which is like this long kind of column poem about this movie, Variety, which is directed by this woman, Betty Gordon. And it's written by fucking Kathy Acker, and Nan Golden's in it. And so it's kind of like an early feminist tract. It was made in the early 80s. I have not seen the movie. I do want to watch the movie. But the poem is super layered and super complicated, but also like super readable, super fun, super smart. It's like a romantasy. It's a real bodice ripper. It's erotic. But it's sort of like informed by Samuel R. Delany, Times Square Red, Times Square Blue. It's about that Variety photo plays, which is where the movie takes place, this Variety movie. It's about like the peep show kind of underground culture, like a lot of the New York stuff, right, of that time, Taxi Driver or whatever. He's going to these dirty movies. So Times Square Red, Times Square Blue, right, is a whole book about all the peep shows around Times Square and adult film, like Pee-wee, right? Like where Paul Rubens and Fred Willard like to hang out. You know, just fun-loving, you know, that's the whole point of Times Square Red, Times Square Blue, is like these actually were like fruitful social landscapes. They were actually like healthy places for people to meet each other and kind of exercise their sexual id or whatever they're under. And now it's like, I guess everybody does that on the internet or Craigslist or something. Or Grindr. There's probably an app now that people are on. Or they're at, you know, they're somewhere in Bushwick or Crown Heights at some fucking group sex party. So yeah, I mean, it's got a lot of that kind of like theory, you know, female gaze, whatever. All that is kind of layered in a way that's like very smart, but very readable. But it's, once again, it's almost like a prose. It's almost like an essay or something in a way. It's almost like an academic paper about film, about this film, the meaning of these aesthetic choices, pornography. You know, this Betty Gordon, I guess she started out making movies that were like non-narrative. They were sort of long, boring, to the Hollywood trained kind of eye or whatever. And so when this Betty Gordon made Variety, it was narrative. It was looked on as like a betrayal of like her feminist kind of avant-garde philosophy or mission or whatever. Maybe I'll go out here. Is this good? I mean, I can't tell if this is lagging for people or what. It's sort of looking like it's being laggy on my thing, so maybe I'll walk out here for a sec. So, you know, I thought that was kind of interesting, this idea that the narrative film is sort of like this patriarchal male gaze type. Well, that's one reason why I started vlogging. To me, the vlogs, the slow cinema, landscape cinema, you know, doing with video what a poem does, doing what I would do in a poem in a video, and vice versa. Wanting my poems to sort of be like the videos, where like they're landscapes, like these Edmund Wilson vlogs. It's like they're diaries about people that you sort of have moments in passing, your life, you know, and he knows all these incredible people, and he has all these incredible kind of moments with all these, like, you know, legends or whatever. So it's like, even though, I mean, I know Edmund Wilson wrote novels and plays and things, but he's not really known for that. He's kind of more known as like a man of letters, and kind of like, you know, a critic, somebody, a poetaster or whatever, you know, somebody who like knew literature, but like wasn't necessarily a great novelist, or, you know, he wasn't F. Scott Fitzgerald, he wasn't Hemingway, he wasn't John Dos Passos or whatever. He was more this kind of like diary, you know, like Aeneas Nin or something, right? Like her diary is kind of like her great work in a way. is that feminist? It's like Dorothy Wordsworth. That's kind of a similar thing, right? Like Dorothy Wordsworth was the Grasmere Journals. She wasn't necessarily like William Wordsworth putting everything into these poems that got published and widely read. It's more this kind of clandestine, like private form or something that's almost like a secret, where it's like, uh, maybe that belongs to the men, the novels, the long, um, more commercialized forms, more kind of public forms or whatever. Um, I don't know. I'm just riffing here. I'm sort of academically riffing. Um, yeah, you can tell the Laura's Desires poem is informed by a lot of the kind of academic theory about that kind of stuff. I think it does it in a way that's very like smart and organic and kind of implicit. It's not like overly, footnoted or whatever, or like alienating. It's harmonic in the fucking kind of like personal voice. I guess this is closed. But you can tell it's kind of adopting those positions and kind of like wanting to present those sides or whatever in. It feels good for now. I believe that the gods are going to protect us. But I was trying to think of what it reminded me of. I mean, one thing that sort of like came back to me recently is how important those long James Schuyler poems are. And like Morning of the Poem, Hymn to Life, A Few Days. Those are like live streams. Not to fucking compare everything to a goddamn live stream, but, I guess he was writing these in the 70s, late 70s, early 70s, all the 70s. And you can tell they were probably influenced by radio. I mean, he's basically doing like sort of a transcription of like what's going on in his head over the course of one morning or like a few mornings or whatever. And so there's like a flow to him. There's like, I mean, I'm sure it is like revised or edited or whatever you want to, believe about what you have to do to your writing to make it good. It was worked on. It wasn't just like he shit it out and there it was. Although, who knows? I don't think it was that, with that kind of stuff where you're just like doing it live, you can't really go back to that place. You can't really, if you add stuff or if you change stuff, I don't know, you can feel it. You know that it's not how it was. And that's, I don't know, in a certain way, that's kind of the value of that type of writing. Is like, it takes place over the duration of time. And it's about that duration of time. And so everything that's in there, like the Laura's Desires poem has these sort of clusters of things that are like more abstract, that are kind of among the more kind of like narrative, spoken, discursive flow of the thing. But it's those moments that kind of like stick out and have like these kind of amazingly profound, it kind of elevates it. And they're kind of mysterious. Amongst this writing that's like a little more legible, a little more coherent, a little more rhetorical. So it's kind of hitting, it's enhanced by both those levels. Okay. He's in there. There's my mouth. Get a nice close-up on that. There we go. We'll just do the whole stream like this. Here we go, everybody. This is what people really want to see. I'm just here with my fans, okay? I'm not really in the real world here. I'm just here with my my online fucking audience. Okay, we'll go back to this. This is a nice little walk over here. I encourage people, take the time to try out this new path and shit. It's pretty nice. I don't know what kind of reception I'm getting here. What the hell else? Well, I was just on yesterday. But the thing is, the weird part is, like, the more you do this, the more you get into it, and the more you have to say. Yeah, so, I mean, those James Schuyler poems, particularly, I think, a few days, morning of the poem, Hymn to Life, I think, takes place in D.C., but morning of the poem, I think he's in the Chelsea Hotel or wherever. And so the poem I read at the last reading, Some Things I Know About Her, that was like a long, thin column poem. And there's still people that kind of do that. Like, I was thinking that Stacy Samasik book, Heart Island, is kind of like that. Matt Longabuco's stuff can be kind of like that. And of course, the big link, right, between Schuyler is Eileen Miles. Eileen Miles sort of took the window poem, took those kind of like long, skinny, and then just made them like portable. I don't know. I mean, it's weird because a lot of that other work, the Bernadette Mayer stuff, Midwinter Day or Memory or all those journals, studying hunger journals or whatever it is. Those were all happening in a lot of diary work, right? Like Joe Brainerd stuff. Obviously Frank O'Hara. I think there were like presidents, or I don't know. It's like when I first read that, that Schuyler book was probably one of the first books I bought in New York. I got it like spring of 2011, and it was just like the ultimate welcome to New York gift, because it's like Frank O'Hara, but it's a little more grounded or something. It's a little more from like the diaphragm. It's a little more bassy. But it's witty and it's chatty and it's smart, but it's like invisible. A lot of the effect of Schuyler stuff is just like, it's just like he's talking to you. And so it was useful to me as sort of like a form of monologuing, a form of show business, honestly. He mentions all these show business figures, Fanny Brice or Mildred Bailey, I think he mentions. He met Mildred Bailey or something, which nobody knows who that is anymore, but they were like flow state, but they were sculpted and they were finished, right? They were sort of like a psychological or cognitive realism, in the same way that those painters, right? Like the cover of that Schuyler book is like Fairfield Porter and I don't know. It's been a while. I've tried to stay away from the New York school stuff. That's why it was like a rediscovery to me, because I used to just be so, I'd read it every year. I'd read Schuyler all the time. And I think at a certain point, it seemed maybe too, like, serious, or like I couldn't really do that. Like Eileen Myles is a little more entertaining, a little more edgy, a little more fragmented, but it's still personal. It's still like thin column, colloquial, cognitive. It was just like an updated version, up to the 80s or whatever. And I don't know, like I said, there's a lot of writing that's sort of like that. That's maybe like Joanne Kiger, right? Or Paul Blackburn even. That's sort of like diaryistic and temporal, but just doing it differently. And it's also like, I don't know, the tall, skinny poem thing, it's like, how many times can you do that? Or how are you going to make that interesting? It's just like, it's such a easy form. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I think that's like why it's good to use. But it just felt like, I don't know, kind of like, okay, that's what Alex Dimitrov does. That's what fucking some of Ben Fama's shit is. That's what, it's just kind of like a default mode for like a modern, like I'm just gonna do 3-word line or 4-word line, and it's very New York, but it looks like skyscraper, but it's also like, I don't know. How do you make that your own? How do you give it your distinct fingerprint? So, and like certain people, like an Alex Dimitrov poem, it's like, we know couldn't be anybody else. There's a cleanness to it. There's a snappiness to it. There's a pithiness. There's a directness. There's a romantic quality. Fucking, isn't Coeur de Leon kind of like that? I don't know how many people have read Coeur de Leon by Ariana Rines. Probably everybody. Any of my viewers who are still watching, probably, I guess. This is for the poetry fucking fanatics. This is inside baseball. But it's not that inside. Supposedly on the internet, the more niche you go, the more people will find you. It's easier for them to find you if you're more specific about your niche. Like if I was a Harry Potter YouTube page, it might work for me, but probably not, I don't know. In any case, Coeur de Leon, right, was like book length, colloquial for like post-AIM generation. People started to write more like Facebook messages. They started to incorporate more DM style poetics. That's cool, and that's cool, I guess. It's new. Women are like mercilessly new. Women want like absolutely the newest thing. I mean, it doesn't have to be that, but like, there's value in that. This is these fucking weather apps. I mean, Jesus Christ. It said it was not going to rain. It said it was cloudy with wind. We'll see. So Coeur de Leon was like sexual, relatable, millennial. She's in Europe fucking some guy that's ugly. In there's a tree on a tree, fucking fallen tree or something. And so, that was seminal, I think, for everybody that came after her. Somehow. And I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting time, sexually speaking, and the politics of sex and the war between the genders. So it makes sense to write about that, But I don't know. I mean, to me, there's like a psychological war happening inside the mind, and these kind of coherent texts that they're like emails. They're perfectly done, but they don't really reflect the insanity, the inner insanity that is plaguing all of us, the war in your psyche, right? Between you're an incel, you can't have what you want. You cannot have the influencer chick that has 260,000 followers or whatever, just because she's got big cans, big naturals. I'm telling you, if you have big naturals, you can monetize that shit. I guess that's not anything new, but now it's like your power is, you could parlay that into a career of like, you could go to Dubai. I don't know what the equivalent would be for me. Let me sit for 1 minute. God damn it. I know people want content. We're going to revert to this horrific camera angle again, okay? Sorry. The below the... Okay. Yeah, so... I guess succumbing to that war for your attention and that fragmentation and just chasing whatever soundbite or spontaneous clip, viral media, TikTok video. I mean, to be fair, I have let a lot of my poetry become about TikTok and movies. I kind of feel like that guy in The Clockwork Orange, just like, except I'm watching Adam Sandler movies. Not fucking The Longest Yard. Oh my God, no! Please stop putting acid in my eyeballs. And showing me Reign Over Me. Have people seen Reign Over Me? It's slept on. That might be my dark horse Sandler favorite. I want an Adam Sandler Dylan biopic. I think Adam Sandler should play like 80s Dylan in a movie. He should be in like the Under the Red Sky biopic. Bob is coked out. He's drinking like a fish. He just started the Never Ending Tour. We can get Joseph Gordon-Levitt to play G.E. Smith. Adam Sandler as Hearts of Fire Dylan. He can be on tour with Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. I'm telling you, that'd be a killer. They should just keep making Bob Dylan biopics from every phase of his career. Should be a Netflix limited series. So I'm also, in my media-saturated life, I'm consuming this 8-hour interview with Matthew Weiner, the creator of Mad Men. It's interesting, because all that shit from Don Draper's backstory was like this other script he had written, which he described as being magical realism. He said he wanted it to be like Garp or 100 Years of Solitude or The World According to Garp or Kurt Vonnegut, where it was like all these coincidences. And to be honest, I mean, that's probably one reason why it appeals so much to me. Because I guess unconsciously, I love magical realism. I know this is something Ashley and I joke about a lot, but I mean, I loved 100 Years of Solitude. It was absolutely. I didn't love in the Time of Cholera as much when I read it, because it wasn't the same thing. It was different, and it wasn't as magical realism. I mean, 100 Years of Solitude, anybody out there, if you're listening to this and you haven't read that book, I recommend it. Just go read 100 Years of Solitude. You will not regret it. I mean, I haven't read it in 20 fucking years, but it's probably one of the best books ever written, I would say. Maybe that's like a dumbass young lit bro opinion, but I haven't read Bolaño that much. I read Last Evenings on Earth, but I haven't really read any of the major stuff. Maybe I'll get into that. That would be, that I need to. It's just with reading, it's just there's so much and it's so time consuming. Everything in our world is like conspiring to prevent you from reading. Not least of which the phones. The phones are just like probably the prime culprit and just like stealing. And so that's why I've tried to like make a concerted effort when I have a block of time and to fight for that kind of time. I mean, if you can get away and just have hours and hours and hours and hours to just like read, why the fuck not? If your attention can do that, can handle that, can suffer that. If you can, if you have the discipline to do that. And I get it's also kind of a weed thing. When I smoke, it becomes more about, it's harder to read linear stuff. It's harder to read prose. It's harder to read coherent stuff. It's easier to read, cut-ups. It's easier to read, abstract. I mean, Gertrude Stein, the fucking was on hashish brownies. There's a reason why that shit happened. Alice B. Toklas had that good. Edibles, okay? All of that shit was written on edibles. And probably they were smoking a fat-ass hookah in the salon, coming up with tender buttons and shit. If I told him, and if I told him. That's the best I can do. That's my Gertrude Stein approximation. And hell yeah for it. I think it's just at the heart of everything. If you want to talk about non-narrative, long, slow cinema, I think that's definitely not that that's going to necessarily have a huge audience on YouTube, but I don't know. It's like any of this stuff. I mean, how many people are reading Edmund Wilson shit? Show of hands. I guess there's probably boomers and shit that remember him and, sanctify him or revere him or that was one of the things in the Laura's Desires book that really struck me. There was this passage about when you're talking to an artist who grew up in the 60s or 70s or 80s or 90s, there's just like this chasm. She compares it to a funhouse mirror. It's like you can't see yourself in them because our circumstances are just so different, right? And there is this kind of tragedy in that. There's a sadness, and it creates this kind of hostility between people where it's like, when you look at these people who have rent-controlled apartments or whatever, came of age in this golden era, went to Max's Kansas City or CBGB or whatever the fuck it is. You know, Luna Lounge or whatever, Pyramid Club, whatever the hell it was. You know, what at Mud Club. Oh, I saw, you know, there is this like kind of resentment or hostility that's like, well, it's a lot harder for us. You know, we don't live in this golden era of just like endless free time and, you know, 1-bedroom apartments, and we all live in the East Village, and you know, we all make a magazine together and hang out all day. It's like now everybody's in some other fucking part of the city on the train. I mean, it's still doable, right? We need to romanticize the now. It's still happening somehow. And in a weird way, the rest of the country became more like New York in how expensive it is. You know, New York used to be like exceptionally different, I guess, in how much more it costs. Now it's like everywhere is fucking overpriced. There's no refuge, you know, for like a working class artist who wants to work part-time and have their own apartment. You know, and so there is like this weird, did they sell us out? You know, that's a lot of the narrative on TikTok and through social media is the war between just the war between everybody. All the generations hate each other, the genders hate each other, the races are all in their own little fucking competitive fight. And it's like, well, boomers could just buy a house for, you know, 6 months' salary or whatever. They had a second home, they had a boat, they had a fucking... And they're still hoarding wealth at the top. And the rest of us are paying exorbitant amounts. You know, everybody's got 6 roommates or lives way the fuck out in places white people never lived before. Or they haven't in 100 years. Now it's like rich kids fucking live in Brownsville and shit. Oh, one of the things I recently discovered that's kind of fascinating, and I knew a little bit about this, but like literally right across the street from where I live in Midwood was like this NBC studio where they shot like tons of fucking movies and TV shows. What did they shoot there? They shot they opened it like over 100 years ago. It was one of the first movie studios. Because at that point, you know, that far out in Brooklyn was like farmland. And so they made like Fatty Arbuckle movies and shit there. They made like silent fucking, you know, Norma Talmadge or whatever fucking movies there. And they made the Cosby Show there. Literally in Midwood, right across the street from where I live, which is like the most boring place in New York now. Now it's a fucking storage facility. Like literally the storage facility where I had all my shit and where I'm moving all my shit was like literally this fucking movie studio where they shot like the fucking Sammy Davis Jr. show and the fucking Cosby Show and fucking like Bob Hope movies and shit. Which, you know, it's just like the last place you'd expect anything like that to happen. You know, you just think this is the middle of nowhere, New York. Nobody cool comes there now. You know, it's definitely like the least place hip in Brooklyn, or one of them. So it's crazy to like all of a sudden be like, holy shit. Like, they tore it all down. Now there's this apartment complex called the Vitagraph, because that was what the studio was called. It was called Vitagraph Studios in Midwood, Brooklyn, where they shot the fucking Cosby Show. So Bill Cosby probably drugged women across the street from my house, among other things that transpired, I'm sure. But it's just crazy because that neighborhood is so sleepy and so like off the beaten path, or at least that's how it seemed to me. That like that was like the other NBC studio. They had NBC in, you know, Rockefeller Center, and then they had NBC Midwood. So it's kind of hilarious that I've been doing my live stream from there. You know, and Kuzu Daddy's got this whole fucking studio in the basement with green screens and lights and cameras, and he's spiritually continuing what they started at Midwood Studios. Vitagraph Studios. I can't think of anything super famous that they made there other than the Cosby Show. An unfortunate example. Maybe I should keep walking before it gets dark and shit. I don't know. Is it gonna... Yeah, so, I've been trying to find a way to romanticize that place, you know, because my project for the last few years was like, wherever I was like, okay, I'm going to read the poetry that was written there. I'm going to find the people, you know, like whether it's Columbus, Ohio, or, you know, like I lived in Chelsea. It's like there was all this fucking poetry history there, excavating the poetry history of the West Village while I was in residence there. You know, for whatever reason, that's part of my, I don't know, escapism, romanticy, but also like my connection to the land, connection to the art. You know, it's like you're trying to absorb, and a lot of times you just find yourself in these places. You know, at least I do. It's like, okay, now I'm living here now. What the fuck? And so up till now, right, it's like the only thing I knew about Midwood was Woody Allen grew up there. So that's one reason why, you know, like, I had my whole Woody Allen phase a couple years ago. Because it's like, well, I just moved to Midwood. It's like, what is significant about this place? Fucking Woody Allen grew up a block away, 2 blocks away. For take it or leave it. So now it's like, okay, how did I not find out about this fucking Midwood studio thing? As a way to sort of like romanticize the history, and it gives you something to write about, you know, telling. It's like that Ed Sanders stuff, right? Like a lot of Ed Sanders stuff is sort of like these haiku like stanzas or like little factoid stanzas. Or, you know, he's recounting whatever biography, Allen Ginsberg's life, Chekhov's life, history of the 20th century. He does these little micro kind of profiles of people. I don't know. I think that's an important history, right? It's important. Or it's just another thing, you know, it's just another aspect of life. It's another subject. That's like, okay, why not? Why the fuck not? Today I'm going to write about and try to investigate and pick up some of the fucking psychic energy and vibe. That's part of the reason why you come to New York, right? Because they were here. Why do we do this as people, as artists? Why is it important to us to go to Bob Dylan's stoop and be like, oh, wow, just gonna stand here, man? Or the Dakota, right? Or whatever it is, Strawberry Fields, fucking 101 St. Mark's Place, the Poetry Project, Frank O'Hara's apartment, whatever it is. You know, some fucking place Walt Whitman lived, or Edgar Allan Poe, or Don Powell, or Marianne Moore, or whatever, Audre Lorde. I don't know, somehow that, it's like a seance. Maybe their ghost will notice you or something and be like, who is that young man? He looks interesting. I'm going to take an interest in his life path. He come to visit me at my place of dwelling. I will guide his spirit from beyond. That's what I think is happening. That's what's going through my head when I do these pilgrimages. What else is life? I mean, I don't know. You're visiting people you would have liked to have known, or people from the past, right? That's what J.D. Salinger said, right? Is like an author is like somebody you wanted to be friends with or you'd like to meet. Is that true? Is that what an author does? Makes you want to be like, oh, I'd like to have a beer with him or her. Who the hell knows anymore? But I don't know. I mean, I follow my own interests. That's why I'm reading this Edmund Wilson shit. That's sort of like a fragmented diary. I mean, they're widely published. Like, I've got a fucking paperback of it. So at one point, I imagine these were wildly popular. I guess people wanted to read gossip about literary figures of the 20s when they were romanticized. I think they came out maybe in the 50s or 60s, or, you know, like Roger Sterling in Mad Men. He sort of got this, like, lost generation thing. Even though he was older than that, you could tell those were like his heroes. Going to Paris, drinking. And that was like, but he couldn't really be a novelist. He's not really disciplined or anything in that way, but the lifestyle, right? They were imitating that famous generation who went to Paris in the 20s. And what do we do now? What the hell do we do now? I mean, what are the most groundbreaking poetic works of this century, would you think? Who's moved the needle? Fred Moten, right? Everybody I know who's smart, Fred Moten is like the guy. And so, I mean, his mind moves incredibly fast. But he's also in almost, not that his poetry is, but he's got these texts of like academic writing that are like super complicated and super important. They're all, you know, they're more like Deleuze and Guattari or something, where they're just like, or Lacan, I guess. Everybody's experiencing limerence. Ashley was talking about limerence. Limerence, I guess, is having an unhealthy, an involuntary obsession with somebody. I mean, that's normal, right? I mean, that's pretty common, right? I thought that's what life, you know, it's just like your mind is going places and you wonder, what's that about? I wonder why. Interesting. Limerence, I don't know. It'll pass. I wouldn't be too worried about it. Don't be too worried about your limerence, everybody. I don't know. I'm not a Lacanian psychoanalyst, so I'm just a clown. I'm just Proctor the Clown. Trying to figure out what the fuck I'm going to do at the clown show on Wednesday. I've kind of got it figured out. Trying to keep reading, keep learning. Get this nice. We'll just take a little pause here for a sec while we enjoy some of this super talls. The super tall action here. You know, I guess a lot of the resentment is like the Congress is like so old, right? And the Democrats are so old, and these people won't let go. Everybody in the fucking office is 80 fucking years old, and you know, it's like, when are the younger people gonna get to move up, and when are we ever gonna get to have anything? And it's just going to be a wealth transfer. I mean, when the boomers die, they're just going to give everything to their kids. It's not necessarily going to create new opportunities, per se, although I suppose it would. But it's like, it just could be so much better. You know, it's like, why does our society not have a universal basic income, have just a basic quality of living, standard of living, more even wealth distribution, you know, that kind of stuff which we had briefly during the pandemic with the stimulus, you saw everybody sort of able to kind of thrive and build their own business, make their own work, make their own way. I think people in this country are entrepreneurial. You know, we've been taught that our whole fucking lives. That it's about working hard, and that was one of the quotes in the fucking Edmund Wilson book that I was like, okay, this hasn't really aged well. He's like, you know, in America, anybody, the boot black or the whatever, the bus driver, the newsstand, they all can become successful. Anybody can become, you know, rich or whatever the hell it is. And it's like, this was 100 years ago that he wrote this. It's like, well, what about the women? What about the black people? At that time, that wasn't necessarily true. And it's debatable if it's true now. But in any case, I do think it's what Americans believed or believe, right? That's the American dream, lie. You got to be asleep to believe it. Is work hard, have your own ideas, and you'll get rich. You get rich and famous and powerful, like Bruce Wayne. Then you can save the world with your private technology and vendetta, vengeful attitude about the world. You know, every one of these fucking comic books is about some billionaire that's trying to save us. Fuck that. I don't need any more Batman movies. We have enough. We have enough fucking Batman movies. I didn't see Birdman. Everybody talks about Birdman was like the studio. Birdman's like the studio. I'm going to sit for 1 second. There was a crazy guy over there, so I didn't want to sit, but I'm going to sit for 1 sec right here. It's hard. I mean, as dumb as it sounds, it is kind of hard walking and talking at the same time. It's not the walking and talking. It's the walking and talking and holding the camera, monitoring the camera, you know, monitoring the kind of like periphery, staying aware of, you know, New York, there's constant obstacles, possible things to run into, cars, other people. Bill had Gavin Rossdale on Club Random. 2 hours. 2 hours with Gavin Rossdale. I wonder what his opinion on trans children is. I'm sure we'll find out. I'm sure we'll find out what Gavin Rossdale has to say about Gen Z and how they're too woke. And by the way, did you know Bill never got married or had kids? So yeah, I'm on hour like 5 of this Matt Weiner interview about Mad Men. I'm sure people have seen this shit on YouTube, but the Academy of American Television or whatever the hell it is has like unbelievable content where they like interview everybody. Like, oh, we got a 5-hour interview with Danny DeVito about Taxi. We interviewed everybody who was on Taxi, or like we interviewed everybody who was on the Mary Tyler Moore Show. Well, they're all dead, but or I Love Lucy or whatever the hell it is, Dick Van Dyke Show. We've got an 8-hour interview with Carl Reiner about the Dick Van Dyke Show. It's incredible, is what I'm saying. I don't know. Somehow it's like better than an audio commentary. To just hear like the thinking that goes beyond and the story of the behind the scenes. I mean, he's talking about. They asked him what was the idea behind Joan? What was the idea behind Peggy? And he literally says this. He's like, they both started out as devices. Peggy, they needed somebody who was like a new hire, right? Because it's the first episode, so they need a new hire. So narratively, and then Joan was meant to be like the exposition about how the office works. So they were literally like narrative devices, where it's like Peggy is going to be somebody who needs to be shown the ropes. Joan is the one who's going to explain everything to her, and therefore like the viewer, whatever kind of needs to get across to the viewer. So a lot of these decisions they make on these fucking TV shows are honestly just like pragmatic. You know, it's like they're looking for, there's certain narrative necessities or like services that need to be rendered. And there's also certain ideas they want to express through the characters. And so it's like, well, we need a character for that. With Peggy, it's like, she represents like the woman's whatever journey through the workforce of that time. She's a pioneer. She was an astronaut. Bert says that about the old lady secretary who passed away. She was born in 1898 in a barn. She died on the 37th floor of a skyscraper. She was an astronaut. Matt Weiner said it's a melodrama. It's a soap opera. I guess, is that true? Is Mad Men a melodrama? Is that a bad thing? Is it like a Douglas Sirk film? I've never seen a Douglas Sirk film. As many movies as I've fucking watched. I've seen every Happy Madison movie practically, but I've never seen a Douglas Sirk film. Ashley won't watch Punch Drunk Love. She'll watch every fucking Rob Schneider movie. We watched both Deuce Bigelow's. We watched The Hot Chick. I think we watched The Animal. Pretty sure we had to have. There's no way we didn't watch The Animal. I mean, we really looked high and low for every Rob Schneider movie. For some goddamn perverted reason. Is that BDSM? Is that my kink? Forcing myself to watch Rob Schneider? Forcing myself to watch Rob Schneider's comedy? I'm into it. If you're into Rob Schneider films and Dubai Chocolate, so Ashley will not watch Punch Drunk Love. She does not like P.T. Anderson, which I understand. I am not. P.T. Anderson has grown on me over the years. When I was younger, I didn't really get it. His style is not as like immediately evident as like Wes Anderson. And I don't know, Wes Anderson was more kind of like a poet laureate for like losers. Like Dignan is a loser. Max Fisher is kind of a loser, you know? It's like, it was only later when he grew long hair and got rid of his glasses and started wearing tailored pajamas. That's when his movies became insufferable. Whereas P.T. Anderson, it's like, I don't know, the style is more embedded. It's not like pronounced. But there's a lot there. I liked Phantom Thread. Ashley wouldn't watch that. I started watching, I was like, this is pretty good. I kind of get it now. I did not really get it when I was younger. I saw fucking Punch Drunk Love in the theater. I saw it at the Drexel fucking, the Arena District. And, I was just confused. I couldn't really tell. It did not seem like an Adam Sandler movie to me. It was not really that much like Big Daddy, if you ask me. But I have to see it again. You know, now that I'm older and know more about the world, and I've seen every fucking Happy Madison movie, maybe now I'm more qualified to, I thought it was interesting. Like now when I look back, it's like, oh, there's like these, it's kind of avant-garde. There's like this harmonium, and the shots at the beginning just go on for, I love Philip Seymour Hoffman. Even at the time, I knew that Philip Seymour Hoffman in Punch Drunk Love was like hilarious as that mattress character. but it did not really. I haven't seen the movie since. I don't think I've seen it since it came out. And I mean, I don't know, any Adam Sandler film that goes to like Walmart and comes back with the Punch Drunk Love DVD, it's probably not going to be that stoked about it. If you're trying to get like The Waterboy or whatever. By the way, Happy Gilmore 2 looks terrible. I don't know why he has a beard for it. The trailer is awful. It's got shitloads of cameos. Jack Nicklaus is in the fucking movie. Somehow Jack Nicklaus is in fucking Happy Gilmore 2. And the greatest golfer of all time. It just looks like every other movie like this, where it's like it's a remake, except they're trying to sell it like it's a fucking sequel. That's just what pisses me off. Like, I don't necessarily mind, like, if they want to keep making sequels or even, you know, the fact that they made new Star Wars movies. Like, I thought that was a great idea. It's just they were remakes. They were so bad, especially that 7th movie. It was completely a remake of the first 3 movies, except it had been put through some kind of weird. It seemed like it was made by AI. Like, looking back, I know that was before AI, and AI had nothing to do with it, but it's almost like if AI fucking made a Star Wars movie that was like woke in a remake. It was this weird kind of like, put all of the ingredients from the first 3 movies in a blender and kind of like shuffle it around and spit it out like it's something new, because fucking 8-year-olds aren't going to know the difference. They've never seen the original, and we know the original works, so let's just give them their own version of it with like a female protagonist and all that bullshit. And then fucking Carrie Fisher died. So unfortunately, to me, that's a tragedy. That is a fucking tragedy. That, like, literally Carrie Fisher, they were all alive. They didn't even have a fucking scene between Luke and Leia and Han Solo. Like, they literally saved Luke for like the 2nd movie. It's like, this is insane. You're gonna bring all these fucking actors back. You're not even gonna put them in a fucking scene together. Like, this is just the worst directing. And I don't even like Star Wars that much. I'm not even like a fucking Star Wars nerd. But I can't imagine how anybody who's like a dedicated Star Wars person could have been satisfied. There's a million things they could have done to expand the story and bring it into a new chapter. Like the prequels. Say what you will about the prequels, at least it was like new shit. Darth Maul and Qui-Gon Jinn and Jar Jar. What the fuck is this Kylo Ren shit? This shit sucks, yo. I'm not afraid to say it, okay? I know people care about this. I know Star Wars is big business, okay? For the nerd culture. And I should have started with this rather than talking about poetry. Literature. Should have led with Star Wars. I mean, I've probably talked about this before. But I just couldn't even believe it. To me, it was like Uncanny Valley or something. I couldn't even believe what I was seeing. I was like, was that a remake? That was a remake. They literally released a new fucking Star Wars movie and pretended like it was something that was like going to extend the story. And I also just don't get that, because like in the era of binge television and these long form shows, it's like it pays off more to come up with new shit. People want to see what the fuck Tony Soprano is going to do next or whatever. Now there's no incentive to watch. It's like, well, that was the same fucking thing I just saw. Except with a, you know, different cast. everybody hated the second one. Everybody's like, oh, Rian Johnson ruined fucking Star Wars. It's like, at least the second one was like an original story. There's a lot of controversy around that. Supposedly he disobeyed what they were trying to get him to do. People said that like the way that Luke acted was not. I don't really remember the finer points of what the fuck happened in the movie. I didn't like it that much, but at least it was something new. Luke is some kind of Irish fucking samurai or something. And I don't even remember what the hell else happened, but I got dragged to see it in the theater because I did not see the third one or the ninth one. My heart goes out to George Lucas. I blame Bob Iger. I can't believe Bob Iger. Well, I can believe it, but it is just a fucking shame. Because I'm sure George Lucas had an interesting idea. There's a raccoon over here. Had an interesting idea for what those movies could be. I'm sure he had an interesting story. And they were just like, fuck you, George. We don't even want to look at it. We got this. We bought your fucking brand materials. We bought the characters. We bought your intellectual property. Now fuck off. Take your neck meat and get the fuck out of here. Take your neck meat and your $1 billion. And Netflix is going to just completely dilute your baby. There's a raccoon over there. It's a fucking shame. It's a shame what they did George Lucas dirty. I don't even know what street. This has got to be what, 86 or 96? Maybe it's 96. I guess I'll head out of the park now. I'm probably, well, I guess I've got a little more battery. It hasn't given me the 20% warning yet, so far so good. Let me just smoke a little more right here. Join me, won't you, at home, if you have any. Now's your time to light it up. Tomorrow, open mic. I just realized that we are having open mic on Bloomsday. KGB open mic June 16th is a Monday. So we'll do a Bloomsday special. I don't know what that means. Probably nothing that special, but it's on Bloomsday. James Schuyler talks about Ulysses in I think a few days. He talks about, it was a dirty book. You know, it was obscene. And so getting their hands on it was like, whoa. And they were trying to find out why it was dirty. And they were disappointed. It wasn't necessarily as hot stuff as they thought it was going to be. The Molly Bloom soliloquy or whatever the fuck it is. Whatever the pornography in that book is. How could they even tell? Hey, it got people to buy it. I feel like the best thing that can happen to you is if they, like, try to censor your book. If your book goes on trial for censorship, it's like literally that's probably the best way to get famous as a writer. I mean, that's what happened with Howl, right? What else? Did that happen to Henry Miller? And if not, why not? I mean, Ulysses, right? These are kind of interesting shots with the trees up there. These ice raids are nuts in LA. I've seen a little bit of footage of them. And the people in LA, good on them, are fighting back. Doesn't surprise me. But it is just absolutely insane how they've just militarize the fuck out of it immediately. They want it to be this big skirmish. They want it to go wild on TikTok and for the video to look like some fucking movie or something. Trump, it's all about ratings, views, and if they get people thinking that there's like people fighting the military, then they can really amp up the martial law, get the National Guard in there, right? That's what they're doing now, is they're getting the National Guard in there to deport people. Using AI. How do we create more efficiency in deporting people? And deporting illegals through AI? That's what I voted for. Fuck the wall. I want ChatGPT to police everybody. There's just too many fucking movies to see. I've never seen Minority Report. It does feel like we're being led into this Minority Report reality real fast, where it's like we're all being led into this fucking database. They're just going to use AI to find out who's ever said anything bad about Israel. Throw them into some prison in El Salvador. Wait till they find my vlogs. It wasn't even worth it. I didn't even get paid for this. I'm just running my mouth about how much I hate Trump all the time. And how much I love Gaza or want to free Palestine. So, I don't know. Who knows what's going to happen? I guess the best thing that could happen is if you get thrown into prison in El Salvador. Then your name's in the newspaper, your picture. All of a sudden, people want to read your poetry chapbook. People are watching your slow TV, slow cinema, life movies. Now suddenly people are interested. Remember, that's what happened with that guy Mark Balmer. People remember Mark Balmer. This guy went to Brown. He was like an alt-lit guy, kind of. He's a good writer. You know, Fence put out this collected Mark Balmer, and it's good. I mean, there's prose in it, there's poetry in it. He's sort of like Tao Lin a little bit, but there's more heart. He's like if Tao Lin and David Foster Wallace had a baby. And Steve Rogenbuck. He's kind of got a Steve Rogenbuck, a little bit. You know, there was a twee kind of eepness to a lot of that work of like the mid-2000s. But in any case, this guy, he walked across America like multiple times, which is something that I think about doing all the time. And I've thought about for years. Literally, that's what I want to do. If things go like belly up for me here, I'm just going to walk across the country reading my poetry. I honestly, I don't know. I think it would work. And that's what this guy did. He didn't read his poetry, but he just walked across the country. He did it barefoot. So he did it like 2 or 3 times. And the last time he was doing YouTube fucking videos. They're on YouTube now, even still. I'm sure you guys know about this, but if you haven't checked out Mark Balmer. So he was walking across the country barefoot the last time. And, you know, I was watching the fucking videos. I remember seeing the first video, because he was on Twitter or something. I think I, you know, knew him from Twitter. That's where all the old lich energy is. All those people get famous on Twitter. Somehow that makes them so good. And now more than ever, it's just like, Jesus Christ, who the fuck is still on Twitter? If you're a writer that's still on Twitter, you're probably not woke, I guess. In any case, so anyway, this guy Mark Balmer, literally his first video, he's walking across the George Washington Bridge in his bare feet. It's like winter outside. There's snow on the ground. It's like, what the fuck? How is this guy? This is not going to probably go well. But he made YouTube videos every day. They were not live, I don't think. He'd do like a 10-minute, but it was like this kind of, he'd be walking and filming himself, walking through fucking Pennsylvania or whatever. And he would stay in hotels a lot of the time. I'm not really sure how he got money to do that. But he did go to Browns, who knows. You know, but so he'd be walking through Pittsburgh and then, but, you know, people were constantly like pulling over. Hey, man, do you need a ride? Hey, you need shoes. You know, you're not wearing any fucking shoes. It's just amazing the generosity that comes out in people. You know, I think we're led to believe that like hitchhiking is like this super dangerous thing. You're going to get killed. You're going to get your head cut off or whatever. And, I don't know. The little glimpses I've had into it, it's like the opposite's true. People are super hospitable, super kind, super giving. And so anyway, this guy was vlogging his way across the country. I don't know if it was for a cause or something. Maybe it was. I don't know. Okay, I'm on 20%, so I'm going to get off pretty soon. But in any case, you know, he was walking across the country in his bare feet. I think he was in Florida or something. Because I think he made it all the way to West Virginia, but then he took a bus south. He was like, you know what, fuck this. It's too cold, so I'll walk across the south. So he was in Florida. You know, and his point was he was going to walk. He wasn't hitchhiking, you know. If people wanted to give him rides, he'd be like, no, I'm walking. That was part of it, right? But he would like walk on the fucking side of the road. It wasn't like, you know, there were cars going by the whole fucking time. So in any case, he's in Florida. He got hit by a car and he died. And so then they shared his fucking YouTube page in the New Yorker. And now his videos have got, you know, they don't have a shitload of views, but they got 10,000, 100,000, whatever. I mean, he's not Mr. Beast or anything, but I was watching that, you know, while he was doing it from time to time. I didn't watch it every day, but it was one of the things that was like, okay, what is this? This is, you know, it's something. Werner Herzog, right, is the one. If you've never read Herzog on Herzog, I haven't read his more recent books that are like novels that he wrote and shit, but they're probably pretty good. I have on Walking on Ice, which is an amazing book. That's just this crazy. It's about when he walked across Germany. I think he walked from someplace in Germany to Paris. To like, there was this film critic who was dying, who was like one of his mentors or something. So he said you can't die till I get there, and then he walked. And so but it was in the middle of winter, so it's all this ice and snow, and he doesn't have a fucking coat. He just leaves, you know. He's nuts. I mean, Herzog is like, talk about somebody that's just pushed themselves to every kind of extreme. And so this book, Herzog on Herzog, is just full of these crazy fucking stories about all of his films and blah, blah, blah. But he advocates for this. He says you need to walk long distances. And I don't even know why. He said if you want to get... And he actually has a film school now, but back then he was talking about, if I had a film school, what I'd make them do is I'd make them walk like across the country and then learn boxing and all this shit. It's like, I don't know. It sounded like a good idea when I was younger to walk across the country. But I never did it. It's like, you know, it's my backup plan. Mom and Dad, if you're watching, don't worry, I have a backup plan. It's to walk across the country. Depending on the kindness of weirdos and strangers. Well, it's sort of like this yeoman, journeyman fucking like, you know, like Herzog is German. He's from Austria or Bavaria, I think. And, not Austria. I think he's from Bavaria. I don't fucking know. I've never been there. But he's got this conception kind of his craft as being this sort of like medieval, like worker, kind of like a monk or something that like labors over this kind of illuminated manuscript or whatever, meticulous kind of. And so in that part of the world, there was this sort of like tradition of like this apprenticeship, journeyman. You travel from town to town and you whatever the fuck you did. If you were a furniture builder or whatever, you do that. Or I don't know how it worked. If you're a poet, whatever. You go, you have a little residency, you get inspired, you smoke weed, you write a chapbook about it, and then you go on to the next place. It kind of makes sense in Europe because there's all these little principalities and kingdoms that sort of like got grouped together into these bigger countries, but like there's a lot of culture and there's a lot that you could traverse